All right, it is time for my monthly palette ranking video. So this is where I give you a little speed reviews in a ranking style of palettes that I have been testing recently, and now I finally have my full thoughts on them, and I want to give you those thoughts. Welcome if you are new here, my name is Rachel, and if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back. I've got 8 palettes to rank. These are all based just on my own opinions, my own preferences, so if you have different opinions than me, that is totally okay. I want to hear all of your thoughts down below in the comments. I'm going to link all of these palettes down below, as well as everything that's on my face today. Let's get to it. Man, this month's palette ranking was a lot harder than last month's. And of course, I will start off by saying that none of these palettes are bad. They're all good. They're all really good. But listen, they had to get ranked somewhere, right? A big part of the ranking process for me personally is, how do I feel when I look in the mirror after I use the palette? Like, do I really love my looks? Is my breath taken away? And how often do I really want to reach for the palette? If it's a palette that I'm not really wanting to reach for very often, it's probably going to go lower down in the countdown versus something that I'm constantly wanting to reach for, and I have to physically stop myself from reaching for it. There may be some palettes that you've seen me use in past videos that aren't in this ranking. It just means I haven't fully tested them to get my full thoughts yet. So coming in at number 8, I have the Sea Talk palette, and this was in collaboration with Odin's Eye and Lauren May Beauty. So obviously I did rank all 3 of these palettes separately because I do have very different opinions about all 3. If I didn't really have much of a difference of opinion, I might just group them together. But this one in particular, I mean, the cover art in this is absolutely beautiful for all 3 of the palettes. And then this is the inside, and it does really look so beautiful. You've got basically a quad of neutrals, a quad of blue leaning tones, and then a couple of pops of color in the middle. I think the quality of this is really nice. The mattes are really, really pigmented, blendable, all of that, like the normal Odin's Eye quality. And then we've got a few different types of shimmers slash satins in here, just like normally in Odin's Eye palettes, they do mix up the formula. They add a couple of different textures in here, and so they've done that here. So my only thing with this is I found myself not really wanting to reach for this a ton because there's only 3 mattes in here, and I just prefer definitely at least a 50-50 split of mattes to shimmers, if not more mattes to shimmers. And the 3 mattes that are in here are all pretty like mid-tone to deep, so I really felt like if I was just going to use this palette, which I typically try to just reach for the palette itself if I'm reviewing it. But of course, in real life, I can easily reach into another palette to get a transition shade or whatever. But just based on this palette by itself, I wish there were more mattes. I wish there were varying depths of mattes. And then quite a few of these shimmers I had not the easiest time working with. They were quite thick, they were quite textured, they did fall out on my face quite a lot. So that's kind of why this is coming in number 8. It's still a beautiful palette. I think it's great. I created some absolutely beautiful looks with it. Of all the palettes I've been recently testing, this is the one that comes in at the last place. The next palette is not really a new palette, but it's a new palette to me. I do have an entire drawer full of palettes that I haven't used yet. So a couple of them in this countdown are part of that drawer. So this one is one of them. So this is the Pearl palette from BH Cosmetics, like the Birthstone collection from last year. I think I got this at TJ Maxx or Marshall for a very affordable price. And this palette is actually so beautiful. Now it does have a pressed glitter, which I haven't used, which I won't use, which does knock it down a peg. But I did take this as well as a couple other smaller palettes traveling recently, and I was really able to create some absolutely beautiful neutral looks with this. You've got 3 different mattes. You've got 3, just stuck my fingernail in it. You've got 3 different really beautiful metallics. Like I said, it's a neutral palette. You're not going to get huge variety, but when I did want just a soft, pretty neutral look for the daytime, for the nighttime, whatever, I loved reaching for this palette. And I loved the quality of the shadows. The mattes are extremely blendable. They're pigmented. The metallics are like a traditional metallic. They're not ultra sparkly, but they definitely add something to the lid. They're just gorgeous. This palette is gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. I really enjoyed using it. Coming in at number 6, I have another one of the Birthstone palettes, and this is Citrine. So this is November, and it is like a brown and yellow palette. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Same thing I said about the quality of this applies to this. The mattes are great, pigmented, blendable. The shimmers are really pretty. They're not ultra sparkly, but they're a good, solid metallic formula. That standard, pretty opaque, shiny metallic. Again, this has a pressed glitter, which I won't be using, but I think this one has a little more variety in that you can create a solely brown neutral look, a solely yellow neutral look, or you can combine the shades together. I do kind of wish that these two brown mattes were a little bit more varying in depth. They're pretty darn close in terms of color, like on the eye. I wish maybe this one was just a bit lighter, but other than that, I've really enjoyed the looks I created with this palette. The quality's great, the color story's great. I love how small it is. Wonderful palette, great. Coming in at number 5, I have the Nomad Cosmetics Royal Europe palette. I did recently do a ranking all of my Nomad palettes. I can link that down below in the description box if you missed it. So I kind of already did give a little bit of a review on this, but if you missed it, I'll do it again here. So packaging wise, it's absolutely beautiful. It's got like several layers built on top of each other to create this like mosaic textured look. It's so beautiful. And then on the inside, you've really got a ton of jewel tones. If you love jewel tones and you like very pigmented matte shadows, you would like this. I think this matte formula from Nomad is for sure the most pigmented mattes I've personally tried from the brand. There's quite a lot of kick up in the pan. There is quite a lot of fallout. If you don't do your eyes first, just be aware of that. But they do definitely pack a punch and they definitely show up true to pan, if not slightly deeper than they look in the pan. So if you like that, you would really enjoy that. If you don't want something that's a super sheer formula. And then the row of multi-chromes on the bottom are so beautiful. They're more of that smooth multi-chrome formula. They're not textured, they're not chunky, they don't fall out. They're not the most strong. They're not the strongest shifting multi-chromes I've ever used, but they're beautiful. They're still really sparkly and beautiful. This one, I would say Royal Treasure is the most shifty. And these 4 are just slightly shifty, but a really cool palette from Nomad. They continue to just change it up every time, add new textures, add new formulas. I really enjoy this one a whole lot. Coming in at number 4, I have actually the palette from the Perfect Worlds collection that I thought was going to be my favorite, but it's actually my second favorite, and it is the Flora Story palette. So this is in collaboration with Makeup Just for Fun. Again, the cover art is absolutely beautiful. She just looks like this ethereal fairy just chilling in the woods. Love it. And then on the inside, you've got this gorgeous muted green and purple color story. I think the quality is that usual wonderful pigmented blendable Odin's Eye mattes. And then you've got, again, a few different textures of shimmers in here. This multi-chrome Dawn is just so beautiful. Then you've got a couple more like kind of textured shimmers. These ones didn't really give me a ton of fallout or problems, especially when I used a glitter glue. And then you've got more of that super shiny, more smooth metallic, which I personally love. So I really enjoy this palette a lot. I don't really have any complaints about it. There are just things that I liked a little bit more this month, but if you like this color story, I think you would really enjoy the quality because it is beautiful. And greens and purples are some of my favorite colors to wear. All right, the top 3 were pretty tricky, I'm not gonna lie. All 3 of these are just so special in their own way. So coming in at number 3, I have the Fantasy Cosmetica Rogue palette. This palette is gorgeous. This is my first purchase from the brand, and I did pick up the 2 perfumes that came with it. I actually did a video on this collection. I can link it down below. If I have videos on any of these palettes, like dedicated videos, I will link them down in the description box. I was extremely pleased with the quality of this palette, and when I first saw them sneak peek the color story, I was like, oh, it's pretty. It's not like the go-to color story for me. I love warm tones, so this is very cool toned. But I was like, you know what? I really want to try the brand. I had told myself, whatever it is that they're coming out with next, I want to buy it. And so I was really interested in trying out their formula. The formulas of this are just so beautiful. The mattes are pigmented and blendable. Like, I was really shocked about how beautiful their mattes are in this palette because I had heard their shimmers were just like crazy, beautiful, sparkly, out of this world, fantastic.
Incredible, amazing, show-stopping, spectacular.
But I hadn't heard amazing things about their mattes, but I had absolutely no issues with these mattes. This like more pastel / bright blue ended up showing up true to pan on me, which can be hard with a color like that. The black is ultra black. They're really beautiful. The mattes are beautiful. And then the shimmers, these multi-chromes, stunning. Absolutely gorgeous. They give that wet look to the eye. So dimensional. They're super creamy. Like looking at them when I first received the palette, I thought they were gonna be a little bit dry. Super creamy. Now, I definitely use a glitter primer just to make sure I don't get fallout with these because they do have some texture to them. But oh my goodness, wonderful palette. Absolutely wonderful palette. Cannot wait to see what else they come out with this year. All right, coming in at number 2. This one is honestly a complete shock to me. I did not expect to love this palette as much as I do because I am really like a neutral lover. My heart goes to neutrals or like grungy tones. Normally, I mean, I wear bright colors. I'm wearing them today. I'm wearing this palette today, actually. But I didn't expect to love this one as much as I do. And it is the Odin's Eye and Batty Bean Planet Spirit palette. I have fully enjoyed using this so much. And of the 3, this is my favorite one. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. Now, of course, the packaging is gorgeous. I've already said that about the other 2. And this color story is so fun to me. The thing I love about this is the mattes are just, the formula is so perfect for a bright color where you can build them up to look like they do in the pan, but they don't end up being hard to blend. They're not right off the bat like bam in your face pigment. You have to build them up to get the look that they are in the pan, but that makes it so much more easy to work with. And the thing that I've been doing a lot, well, besides today, I've been basically doing a 2 eyeshadow look, keeping it really simple. And I love that she's paired it in a way that you can really just stick to these columns where you can take one matte and one shimmer and call it a day. It's a cohesive look. And these mattes are such good quality that you can use the one matte, you can make it more sheer with a fluffy brush, take a more dense brush and pack it in a little bit lower, and it looks like you've used several different matte shades when you've only used one. That honestly to me made this palette. The formula of these mattes, they make it so you can really manipulate the pigment, and it's so, so beautiful. And then on top of that, the shimmers are absolutely stunning. Again, there's a couple of different textures of shimmer. There is a multi-chrome up here, which is so beautiful. It is what I kind of tapped over my lid, and I am actually wearing it as a highlight today. Really shocked how much I love this palette. It's gonna be my go-to for spring and summer this year. And then coming in at number 1, can I get a drum roll, please? I have the Cosmic Brushes Muse palette. So I tried the Serenity palette last year. It was one of my favorite palettes I tried last year. And the only issue I had with that palette is the color story wasn't one that I really wanted to reach for a lot because it did have a lot of blues. The color story was just a little bit bright for my preference. I mean, I really enjoy the palette. The quality is great. This color story is much more up my alley. It's a little bit grungier. It's like a secret garden that's kind of overgrown, like in the Shire. You know what I mean? That's what I'm feeling with this, but you still got some like little pops of color for the spring. You can create a neutral look. They've got a lot of greens, which I love. You've got purples, which I love. The color story is just wonderful. Now, I will say, and I could be wrong, let me know your thoughts. If you agree with me or disagree with me, it's totally fine. I feel like the mattes in the Serenity palette were just a touch more pigmented than this, but still wonderful. Still, they build up to look like they do in the pan, but I think the Serenity palette, for me personally, I think the pigment was there right off the bat a little faster. I could be wrong, could be just my experience, but nevertheless, I love the different tones in this, and the shimmers as well in this are so beautiful. They're that perfect formula that I love, smooth yet sparkly. And so that is why I love this palette so much. I just do. All right, and that is it for this palette ranking video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave me a comment down below letting me know your thoughts on any of these palettes. Have you tried any of them? Are you also loving them? Want to pick any of them up? Let me know. I would love to know your thoughts down in the comments. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps me out a lot when you do that. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you would consider subscribing before you leave. I do upload videos weekly, and I would love to see you back on my channel again. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.